And for anyone that missed what I had said the other day, if you had missed the live video the other day, I'm also recording this so that I can post this later. For anyone, I know it's a little bit of an odd hour, but it's the way timing worked out. So, but what I had said before was that, you know, tarot cards sometimes have a connotation, but at least for me, things have as much meaning as you give them, and it really doesn't matter however messages come through, whether it's in music or tarot cards or in signs, something that comes on the radio, or, you know, however it works out, however your spirit guides, whatever you believe in, needs to communicate with you, whatever's best. Really, it's just about looking for the signs and connecting the dots, and usually what I take into account is something that, I guess, comes through more than 3 times. So, as far as signs go, because tarot cards really don't, at least in my experience, they don't predict further out than a day or two, because things can change. We all have free will, and it's just about discerning, because so much of the messages are very broad, so that they can apply to a lot of people, and it's really about listening and discerning what's right for you, what connects with you. So I'll try my best to, I've never done a real general reading. I usually just read for myself or for a friend. So this is new for me too, bear with me. And also try to keep a really broad, open mind and look at things from all perspectives, because in my experience, messages come through in ways that I never really expect, and usually they make more sense in retrospect. But I can give an example. Maybe I'll wait a little bit just to make sure that as many people hear this as possible. I'm outside in my little indoor-outdoor tent hut thing. So it's a little dark. I have a lot of candles going, but I'm kind of a night owl, so I hope that people are able to watch this. Let's see. Also, if, you know, I'll try to pay attention, but if anyone has questions, feel free to ask. I'll try my best to answer if there's anything that seems pertinent. And my way of doing this is just letting whatever needs to come through, and just let the cards, I try not to like really interfere. This was the High Priestess. And this is the deck that I thought I would use. It's pretty straightforward, is the Art of Life Tarot. So there's pictures on each card, a painting, and a quote as well. And the quote with this one is, "At the center of your being, you have the answer. You know who you are and you know what you want." Lao Zhao. And it's the Gothic Window Detail by Odilon Redden, 1900. I don't know if anyone can see these that well, but I'll try to show you. Yeah, so we'll just get started here in a second. This is a general reading, so keep that in mind. And I have no specific intention or, you know, anything. I don't know if anything's really going to come through that's more than good for tomorrow. This is for tomorrow, by the way. It's also another reason I did it at midnight, so that it would be as close to tomorrow as possible. And I was thinking maybe I'll try to do this more regularly, but when I can't do actual readings, that's why I have the videos that I've been doing that show the energy that I feel like is coming through for the day, and connect it to the playlist that I have on my profile, the link, the Laid Up playlist. That works its way through the Major Arcana in the tarot, so that I can kind of direct people there, and you can get a general idea of what I'm talking about, because even for myself, I don't always know where the messages are going or what they're necessarily pertaining to. I kind of just get directed to, not directed is the wrong word, but inspired to look at certain things draw my attention, and when I connect the dots, they all sort of work together. But even still, most of those messages make sense more so after the fact, or in retrospect, or within a couple days. So yeah, you just kind of have to listen for what applies to you, what resonates for you, and go with that. And an example I gave earlier was one time I got a message using my tarot cards that I was going to get a text message from an ex-boyfriend, and it was going to be within the next 2 minutes, and it was going to be about marriage, and it was a specific person, which made me a little bit apprehensive. I couldn't imagine what this person would be messaging me about for having to do with marriage. Oops, just dropped a card. The only things I could think of would be, maybe he's getting married, or he's going to a wedding, or didn't even look at this card. Or someone we know is getting married. The kind of logical things that you would think if you were to hear that your ex-boyfriend is going to text you about marriage. But none of those were really the case. Actually, he did end up texting me within that 2-minute time period, and it was about marriage, and it was from that guy. But it was a text message that he sent me of a picture that he took in a bar of two people that had just gotten married, and were still in their wedding dress and tuxedo, and I guess had just decided to stop in this bar that we used to go to in Brooklyn and Red Hook, and I guess he thought it was funny, and he took a picture and sent it to me. So it was a message from him in the same time period, and it was about marriage, but it's not anything I could have predicted or would have thought or expected. So yeah, it's those little instances that add up and make you realize that there is something coming through that is not of your own making, of your own imagination, but it's, like I said, usually in a totally different context, or something that you wouldn't have thought. And so there's something else I was going to say, but I forget. Yeah, it's just about trying to look at it from every perspective, up, down, round, and however, is in the broadest context, I guess, because we're often thinking about, our present circumstances or what's happened to make sense of messages, but it really is just, if it's about the future, then it's going to be something that we probably don't expect. So, it's just to keep an open mind and listen and try to connect the dots. And I can give the traditional meanings of cards, but for me, the strongest messages that come through are when I pick up on a certain color or symbolism, and that's usually speaks more to what's going to happen versus what the message of the card is. And they all have such layered meanings that it might take forever to go through, but we'll try our best here. All right, so general reading, use your logic and intuition as well, and just see what happens. For the highest and greatest good of all people, whoever ends up watching this. What would be beneficial or helpful, insightful for people to know, to be aware of. For tomorrow. Alright, so that is the Eight of Swords and Ten of Cups. And I'll show them to you in a second. Alright, we'll start with the Eight of Swords. It is a picture of Columbus crossing the Atlantic, detailed by N.C. Wyeth, 1927. And the quote is, "You can never cross the ocean unless you have the courage to lose sight of the shore." So, you see that? And the Ten of Cups is The Gardener's Daughter, detailed by Edward Henry Weinert from circa 1860. And it says, "Let us be grateful to people who make us happy. They are the charming gardeners who make our souls blossom," by Marcel Proust. With two cameras going here, I'm trying to. And on the bottom, I usually look at the bottom as kind of like the foundation to what we're talking about. That's the Hermit. And it's solitude, watching the horizon at sunset, in the hope of seeing a vessel. Tristan da Cunha in the South Atlantic, detailed by Augustus Earl, 1824. "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul," by Marcus Aurelius. This one first, down here. Okay, so these are a little bit different than traditional tarot cards, but the Eight of Swords. Swords are mental. They have to do with our thoughts, with our speech, our communication. And Eight of Swords traditionally means, traditionally the Eight of Swords, the woman is blindfolded and she's surrounded by eight swords. She can't see. She's tied up, blindfolded, and there's these things surrounding her. And swords can also mean spirit, and messages. So a lot of people equate it to being stuck in your head. It can also mean domestic violence, actually, but we're going to try to stay positive here. For me, I've also come to think of it as spirit, being surrounded by spirit, and not being able to see or touch it, but just having mental communication. And the Ten of Cups. Ten of Cups is a great card. Cups are emotions, love. It's it's our emotions, it's our feelings. It's also, I kind of tend to think of cups, since it represents the element of water, about time, water being time, and the flow of time, the flow of emotion, that which moves us forward, or keeps us still. And the Ten of Cups usually is just complete, total happiness, bliss. It's the tarot goes from Ace to 10, and so you can kind of think of it that way, throughout all the elements: cups, swords, earth, and wow, I'm just blanking right now, and fire. Fire. If you think of it as a progression, since cups represent emotion, we start out with like that initial cup of emotion, that initial feeling, and as we get 2 cups, it's kind of like 2 people or 2 emotions coming together, and as you go, you just kind of add on to that. So 10 is like the ultimate, overjoyed emotion. Usually there's a family in a field, and there's a rainbow, and they're all just like ecstatic and kind of in this pose. Like, so, and same with swords, and any of the elements, it's this build up. For sword is like that, or the Ace of Swords is like that initial spark, that initial idea that that we get, and then by the end, 10 of Swords, it's like too much in your head. It's like too many ideas you can't get out of your head. Or I've also come to think of it as psychic, sort of. The more and more we build up, the more we're able to connect with spirit and hear the other side, whatever you want to call it. But I like this quote, let us be grateful to people who make us happy. They are the charming gardeners who make our souls blossom. It reminds me of another quote that's in this deck that says something like, God gave us memories so that we might have roses in December, and I don't remember who it's by, but I think that's kind of pertinent to now, especially since there's so much going on in the world, and stormy seas, and it's about finding the blessings in life, and let's see. Having the courage, like it says in this quote, to take that first step to getting where you dream, where you imagine to go, and that in order to do that, you have to be willing to get lost a little bit, to lose sight of the shore. I don't know, we'll see. I think I'm gonna move on, but even though this is 10 of Cups, which is water, it's in a garden, feels like to me more of a earth element energy. I just noticed the white foam of the waves here, and it kind of reminds me of her dress, the clouds and the white roses. It's just very like fluffy, even though it's in the midst of a storm. But again, I think it's about finding the joy, the happiness in the moment, even if we feel lost at sea. think, yeah, like I said, I think that just really speaks to what's going on right now. There's so much upset and turmoil in a way. And I think what it's saying is that as much as we have to fight against what we don't want to see in the world, which people are doing, we're doing a great job of that. I think it's also to say that we have to equally focus on what it is we do want, put just as much energy and focus and intention into building the world that we do want instead of just what we don't want. I think I wrote that in a poem one time, like what we flatter will then grow. Even giving the negative things attention is a form of flattery. So we have to balance it out with what we do want to see. Let me see what else. I'll do a regular tarot card. Okay. And I did speak a little bit about my prediction for the Super Bowl in my last video. Like I had said in that video, it was more of an artistic social experiment to see what people would do if given the choice. Choice, something I've been talking about for a really long time, hoping that it might spark something in people to recognize, what could be taken away if certain people are elected. But more than that, I thought it'd be interesting to see what people would do. Kind of that, me predicting the Falcons would win, Georgia talking about peaches, kind of like that Adam and Eve. Here's the peach, here's the apple. What do you do? You've given a little bit of information, a little bit of temptation of, hey, you could bet on this. And even though most people think that the Patriots are going to win, I didn't even know that the Falcons weren't completely in the Super Bowl when I made that prediction. I don't know much about sports, so take that all into consideration. Make your own judgments and own decisions using your own logic and intuition. But all that day I had been getting all these signs for Falcons. I didn't even know that was their mascot until I finally connected the dots. I was actually planning on using that song for something else, and it just kind of all came together and made sense. It was one of those knowing type feelings, but like I said, it was like almost a month ago, so things can change. But while I was in Arizona, I did ask for a sign, and right then the wind picked up, and I looked up, and there was a falcon, the first bird I had actually seen the entire time I was there, first bird in like 3 days, and it was a falcon of all birds fly overhead. So I don't know if that means anything, but either way, even though it started out as more of a social experiment to go along with the playlist that I have in my profile, which you can check out. It has to do with my own sort of interpretation of creation, which really, I have to say, it wasn't totally intentional. It started out as just a playlist of the songs I was using and turned into more of a description of myself through these songs, working my way through the Major Arcana, and then realized that that progression sort of told a story of creation. So, a whole social experiment of, do you take the peach, do you not? Fit in with that, since I was in this little oasis paradise at Canyon Ranch, and but I also kind of thought now that it wouldn't hurt to try at least to give some information that I'm getting, whether or not it turns out to be true or not. But if it did, it would be great if people could gain a little extra disposable income or something like that, especially if healthcare coverage and all these things do end up getting taken away. God forbid we need to, form some sort of army or something. It's not funny, but yeah. So anyways, that to me was a sign, the falcon flying overhead, but always use your own logic, your own intuition to make your own decisions, and try my best to interpret what comes through. So, alright, one more card. The highest and greatest good. All. These are also a little hard to shuffle. Just because this is a general reading, I'm going to skip over people cards, but it's a little hard to, I don't know who this is going out to, so it's a little hard to explain, but I will show it to you. This is the Princess of Wands, which to me represents a fire sign, Sagittarius, Leo, or Aries. But I'm gonna do a different card. Let's see, what do people need to know for tomorrow? For the highest and greatest good would be helpful. And again, for anyone who's maybe joined later, or is missing this because it's kind of late, I am recording this, and hopefully it'll. My other phone's about to die, so hopefully it'll record everything, and I'll post that, I guess, on YouTube, and you can watch the whole thing from start to finish. What do people need to know? What would be helpful? Highest and greatest good for tomorrow. Energy for tomorrow. Okay, so that's the Tower. The Tower is not always the most welcome card in the deck, I'm not gonna lie. It's number 16. It usually means an abrupt or sudden event. It usually comes in quickly and clears away what doesn't need to be there anymore, and that's the positive side of it. It makes room for anything that, it makes a clearing. It makes room for other things, new things, things that are better for you to come in, but it doesn't necessarily lessen the shock of what's leaving or what is happening. The planet associated with this card is Mars, and Mars is a fiery, aggressive sort of characteristic of events, of people. It governs the signs of Aries and co-governs the sign of Scorpio with Pluto. I just saw the bird up here in this corner, and just talking about the film. Maybe that has something to do with it. But yeah, it's a little bit of a destructive card. But on the other hand, it can also mean a flash of inspiration, something that comes in quick, a new idea, brand new, like light bulb. yeah, it's the falling away of what's not necessary anymore. So even though this isn't the most positive card, I do feel like forewarned is forearmed, right? So yeah, usually it's a tower that's being destroyed, and there's usually people that are falling from it. And it kind of advises that to take the fall, to not go against it, not try to like stay in the tower while it's falling, but just go with that energy. Let whatever needs to fall away, and know that it is for your best, maybe, or that it can be, good can come from it. Or like I said, it could just be, brilliant flash of inspiration, a sign, something that comes into your world quickly and is informative, enlightening. It can mean also technological hardware meltdown kind of thing. Anything having to do with like a crash, a sudden change. If I think of anything else, what I keep noticing here is the open gate in the tower right there, which kind of goes along with what I was saying, that the gate's open. You can run, you can get out, you're not stuck. And also just the fire reminds me of an engine right here coming out of the... I was hoping for a little bit more of a positive card. You will pull one more, and then I was thinking I'd do an oracle card to end. Like I said, it could just be, the clearing of what's not good for you, what's not necessary, getting rid of the old and making way for the new. A breakthrough, because the next card in the Major Arcana is the star. So the old is removed so that you can then follow your star and, cross the ocean. One more card, clarity on the tower. Again, okay, so this is the Five of Cups. And it's, again, Mars and Scorpio energies. So Scorpio is big. Scorpio is all about regeneration. It's the Scorpion lives in the depths of the ocean, it dives deep where no one else is willing to go, so it goes through all of that turmoil, but ultimately through those tower-like events, evolves and changes and becomes the eagle, becomes the eagle that it's meant to be, its highest version of itself. I didn't even realize I was still shuffling. Fives are also change. So, like I said, again, more of that Mars and change, sudden change. Tomorrow, 16 also ends up being a 7. Sevens are very spiritually associated numbers. 5 and 7, 12. 5 and 7 is 12, which makes me think of the video that I reference actually in what I shared tonight, number 24 in my playlist, which is the Fugees' Ready or Not. And one of the lines says, in the 12th hour, which could mean now, since we started this at midnight, or noon tomorrow. Anyways, I would just keep an eye out, try to be a little bit aware. But don't, necessarily expect something bad to happen. We create our reality. We really do. Like, if we're looking for something bad to happen, believe me, you'll find it. But just be aware. Like I said, forewarned is forearmed, but it could also be something really positive. You never know. But yeah, 5s are change. And cups, like I said, have to do with water, emotion. So it could be a new direction. A new direction. Again, Mars. This one is Mars and Aries. These are all the signs I've already mentioned that have come up. Mars, Aries, Scorpio. This is the Two of Wands. Dominion is what the name of this card is, but I don't necessarily always associate it with the title of the card. But it does recall the Fugees video, the little description I made, which was kind of a joke. It was talking about my that aspect of my personality, which is the Venus and Scorpio mixed with Saturn and Sag and the house of Leo. So it's very like fiery, sort of Scorpio, and it's, like I said, ruled by Mars and Pluto. It's like this watery warrior type energy, and in that description I said ready for world domination. I should probably change that. Dominion, Two of Wands. I personally like this card because I like the colors. It's a little dark, but it's just like orangey, yellow, red, fiery, with some blue in the background. Crossroads. I also think of, the intersection. Traditionally, it's a person that's looking out from a cliff and between two rods, and rods are fire. They represent the fire energies of Sagittarius, Leo, and Aries, and he's holding a small globe in his hand, and looking out of what can be, there's a lot of different associations I have with that card. Sometimes I think of it as trying to peer into the future. Sometimes I think of it as a watcher type person, looking out, looking over, looking out for the world, holding this little globe in his hand. I also think of a guide, someone who's planning their next move, planning which directions to take, what path to go on. Fire element rods are also energy. It's our passion. Oh my gosh, my cat just got out. Hi. Crap. Hi. I might have to put him away. You just want to say hi. If I think of anything else, I'll put it in the description of the YouTube video. But it's like kind of planning your next move, planning to take what route to take. Can be communication. It can also mean soulmates, because in the traditional card, the Rider-Waite, there's rose and a iris, I think, intertwined like that, which represents the male and female aspects of someone. And